Hello, my friends. I got a pretty cool knife I pulled out of the archives that I want to show you guys today. First, let's do our patented spin. It's going to be a little bit hampered because you'll see the kitchen counter is full of knives and peanuts and all kinds of, got stickers over here. A good friend of mine sent me some extra stickers he had. So thanks a lot there, my friend. He's a cool dude. So let's take a little spin around here. Over here we got the Russell Greenworks Barlow in a blood red bone. Lee White #1 in a buffalo horn. Up there, keeping Abe company is a keen cutter, 1940s keen cutter in a saw cut bone. Big John Henry Shatton Morgan in a brown curly maple. Underneath that is a Robeson Queen in a white stag, Granddaddy Barlow. And then a 1976 Winchester Swell End Barlow. It's actually considered a Barlow. And that's with a brown pick bone, actually brown jig bone. And then up front here, we got what our subscriber Tony calls the toasted meringue pie handle, case sodbuster. I was cracking up when I read that because it actually does look like a meringue pie that just came out of the oven. And down over there is the Victorinox A10 Warthog, Lee White #3 in an Oxhorn, the Rough Riders Stag Hunter Skinner fixed blade, Lion Steel and the Ram's Horn, Lion Steel Barlow. And then this little fellow up here, that's a new, it's a Elk Ridge 5-inch fixed blade or a fixed mini hunter in a burl wood. And up on the box there is the Burnt Chimney made by Boker Razor Barlow. So that was tough. Went through that whole thing. But let's take a look at this knife I pulled out of the archives. It's a Cripple Creek. And this was when Bob Cargill, who was the owner of Cripple Creek at the time, he was the founder. This is in 1982, if you look on the shield. He started Cripple Creek in 1981. He was the head repair guy at Case during the 70s. So you know he had a lot of experience taking knives apart and putting them back together if he was repairing knives for Case. But he also did a lot of custom work and sold custom knives on the side. Then in 1981, he decided to start his own company. And towards the end of 1981, he got this contract with Knife World magazine to make 2,000 of these honeybone mini trappers, dogleg frame pattern. And he took it on, built them all by himself. Problem was, if you do the math, 2,365 days, that's counting if he's working 7 days a week. What's that? Probably about 6 knives a day. So what happened was that in October of 82, he started getting behind on the contract. So what he did was, this is what I read, I don't know if this is for sure, but it is said that he started hiring people off the street just so he could finish the contract on time. He didn't have the people that he hired off the street do anything like the finishing work and the polishing and the grinding. I think there was more of a assembly type deal. and he did all the finishing. But that same rumor also says that if you have one of these with a high serial number, most likely it wasn't built completely by Bob Cargill. So, and that was his thing, when he advertised this model, it was, knife made completely by Bob Cargill. So there might be a little misnomer to that. And some people say, he was a good guy. That's how he got the contract. He knew a lot of people at Knife World magazine, and that's how they arranged this 2,000 piece contract. But he also was such a nice guy, he got elected to be president of the National Knife Collectors Association back in like 83 or 84. And lo and behold, some money turned up missing that was supposed to go to the Knife Collectors Association, not the library, the museum. They actually had a museum. And all the money that the members were donating to the museum kept coming up short. And the museum ended up closing the doors, due to financing problems. So the members, they knew, hey, we're kicking in all this money, man. Why are you closing the museum? We want you to do an audit, find out what happened. And he never did an audit at all. And he ended up quitting as president, selling his company, and he kind of drifted off into the sunset. So I don't know if he was such a good guy after all. He was a great knife maker, but he may not have been a guy with a lot of moral character, I guess you could say. But anyway, let's take a look at the knife. He ended up selling this to Cripple Creek to Bill Howard, who was, he sold the company, which Bill Howard kept, and he kept the Cripple Creek name, but he also got hired by Queen at the time in the early 90s. So why Bill Howard was doing Cripple Creek knives and blackjack knives through the end of the 80s, he ended up merging with Queen and starting to run Queen. And that was Queen's glory years. And, Bill Howard now runs GEC. So, as a matter of fact, if we slide this over here, that big Robeson Queen Granddaddy was made in 1995 under Queen when Bill Howard was at the helm. And that's probably one of my most beautiful knives that I got. So that just tells you about Bill Howard and his ability to run a knife company. But anyway, back to Bill Cargill. He did know what he was doing. This is a beautiful knife. Let's take a closer look at it. Now, a lot of my dates might be wrong. I did all this research like 4 months ago when I bought this knife, maybe even longer than that. But the gist of it is the same. All you'd have to do is Google Bob Cargill or Cripple Creek knives, and you'll find out their history. What he called this was honey bone. And all 2,000 were made in the same bone, which is just a beautiful color bone. Check that out. It's a stubby, it's not a real long clip point. See the maker mark, Cripple Creek. It never focuses when you want it to. There it is. But it's a high quality knife. There's no half stop, but it has that kind of like that detent thing right there. And then it'll snap down. And of course, since it's a mini trapper, it has a spay blade. And the spay blade has the serial number on it, 0769. So this one was built completely by Bob Cargill without any help from people that he hired later in the year. They say all the higher serial numbers, the higher serial numbers might not be built completely by Bob Cargill. Check out the bone on this side. But his knives are worth a lot of money. This I paid $80 only because it doesn't have the papers or the box. But if you find one of these with the papers and the box, it's well worth in excess of $125. I paid $80 for it. You'll see it's a high quality knife. And it's kind of unusual to have a dogleg pattern trapper. But what's good about that is because it's kind of bent in like that, you know, it's almost a copperhead type deal going on. So, yeah, it's an unbelievable story. Of course, Queen is involved and Bill Howard, so that always makes it a good read. So if you want to do some research on Cripple Creek knives and their history and Bob Cargill, just go ahead and Google it up. It's all there. So until the next video, my friends, take care. Be good out there. Bye-bye.